He wrote a college paper about an idea nobody believed in. His professor gave him a mediocre grade. His classmates thought it was a joke. He graduated, borrowed money from his father, and flew to Japan alone. Then he came back and started selling shoes out of the trunk of his car. That car became the foundation of the most recognized sportswear brand on earth. This is the real story of how Nike began. Phil Knight was born in 1938 in Portland, Oregon. He was a decent middle-distance runner at the University of Oregon, not a star, not going to the Olympics, just a guy who loved running. But his coach was someone special. Bill Bowerman was one of the most obsessive coaches in American track history. He wasn't just focused on training, he was obsessed with shoes. He believed the right shoe could make a runner faster. He would take apart shoes, study them, rebuild them. He even learned cobbling just so he could modify his athlete's shoes himself. Knight ran for Bowerman for 4 years. That relationship would change everything. After graduating, Knight enrolled at Stanford's Graduate School of Business. In an entrepreneurship class, he was given an assignment: write a paper about a small business idea. Knight looked at the running shoe market and noticed something. Adidas and Puma, two German companies, had a complete monopoly. Every serious runner wore German shoes. They were expensive, heavy, and the only option. At the same time, Japanese companies had recently entered the camera market and destroyed the German camera industry by making better products at lower prices. Knight wrote a paper asking one question: could Japanese running shoes do the same thing to German running shoes? He poured everything into it. He believed it completely. His classmates laughed. His professor gave him an average grade. Knight called it his crazy idea, and he couldn't let it go. In 1962, right after graduating, Knight borrowed money from his father and bought a plane ticket to Japan. This was not a normal trip. It was just years after World War II. A young American showing up in Japan alone with no connections and no plan. He visited the Onitsuka factory, the company that made Tiger running shoes. He had no company, no business card, no credibility. When they asked him who he represented, he made up a name on the spot: Blue Ribbon Sports. It didn't exist. He invented it in that room. The Onitsuka executives liked him. They agreed to let him import Tiger shoes into the United States. Knight came back home and mailed 2 pairs of Tigers to his old coach Bill Bowerman, hoping for an endorsement. Bowerman did something Knight didn't expect. He didn't just buy the shoes. He offered to become a partner. The two men shook hands. On January 25, 1964, Blue Ribbon Sports was officially born. Their total starting investment, $500 each. Knight had no money to rent a store. So he put the Tiger shoes in the trunk of his green Plymouth Valiant and drove to track meets across the Pacific Northwest. He stood in the mud, opened his trunk, and sold shoes directly to runners. His first year, total sales were $8,000. He was simultaneously working full-time as an accountant just to survive. Every dollar he made, he put straight back into ordering more shoes. The company was growing, but it was always on the edge of collapse. The bank kept pressuring him to slow down. Tiger kept shipping products late and out of spec. Knight kept selling out of every shipment anyway and immediately ordering twice as much. By 1968, annual revenue had reached $150,000. But the financial pressure never stopped. Knight described those years as operating on the razor's edge of bankruptcy, constantly. There were moments when he wasn't sure payroll would clear. Then the relationship with Onitsuka started falling apart. Tiger wanted out of the deal. They tried to find another American distributor to replace Blue Ribbon. When Knight found out, he made a decision: he would build his own shoe company. His own brand. His own products. In 1971, Blue Ribbon Sports broke from Onitsuka completely. They needed a new name and a new logo. For the logo, Knight approached a graphic design student at Portland State University named Carolyn Davidson. He told her he needed something that conveyed motion. She sketched several options. One was a simple fluid curve, a checkmark shape. Knight looked at it and said, "I don't love it, but maybe it will grow on me. He paid her $35. That $35 sketch became the Swoosh, today one of the most recognized logos in human history. For the name, Knight wanted to call the company Dimension 6. His team hated it. One employee, Jeff Johnson, said he had a dream about the name Nike, the Greek goddess of victory. Knight wasn't sure. He went with it anyway. Nike was born. Then came the waffle. Bowerman was still obsessed with improving the shoe sole, specifically the grip. One morning, he poured rubber directly into his wife's waffle iron to test a theory. It ruined the iron. But the result, a waffle-patterned sole, gave runners better traction than anything on the market. The Nike Waffle Trainer became one of the best-selling running shoes in America. Nike went public in 1980. The company was growing fast, but still not yet the giant it would become. Then in 1984, a Nike executive pushed Knight to sign an endorsement deal with a rookie basketball player from the Chicago Bulls. Knight wasn't interested in basketball. He almost said no. The player's name was Michael Jordan. Jordan's agent originally wanted a deal with Adidas. Adidas wasn't interested. Nike flew Jordan to Portland for a meeting. Jordan didn't want to go. His mother made him get on the plane. Nike offered him a 5-year deal worth $500,000 a year plus royalties, more than any shoe endorsement in history at that point. Jordan signed. By the end of 1985, Air Jordan generated over $100 million in revenue. In its first year. Today, the Air Jordan line alone generates over $5 billion annually. Jordan personally earns around $250 million a year from Nike decades after he retired from basketball. In 1988, Nike launched the Just Do It campaign. 3 words. They didn't advertise a shoe. They advertised a feeling. The campaign turned Nike from a sportswear company into a cultural symbol. By 1990, Nike had overtaken every competitor and become the #1 athletic shoe company in the world. Phil Knight stepped down as CEO in 2004 and as chairman in 2016. The man who borrowed money from his father, made up a company name in a Japanese boardroom, and sold shoes out of the trunk of a green Plymouth Valiant, built a company now worth over $100 billion. That's the real story. No extra drama. Just what actually happened. If you want to know how the world's biggest names really began, this is the channel. Next up, a doctor trying to cure his own addiction accidentally created the most consumed drink in human history.